Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, back again with another project for you. And again, it's a fancy fold, and this is based on one that one of my friends received as a swap at one of the onstage. And so I took lots of photographs to recreate it, because I hadn't seen it before and I can't find it anywhere. I'm sure there's somebody out there, obviously, who has done it, but I just can't find it. So this is a fold flat card, and I think it's great as a really pretty card because you get these lovely angles, as you can see here. It folds flat to go in an envelope, and then on the reverse you can pop your panels, and this is one I made in my recent masculine cards. I do find that masculine cards people struggle with sometimes, but I know the men in my life really like these ones that have got a bit more interest to them. It kind of appeals to quite a few of the men I know who've kind of got mechanical minds. So this is the card. So I thought I would actually recreate it, which I did at my team training, with the beautiful Bloom and Grow. And just to show that although I've done it in a kind of landscape orientation here, using some retired geared up garage DSP, it looks just as pretty if you do it in portrait. So there you go, can you see that? And to say it folds flat, you can fold it flat either side. I've chosen to use some of the little trim offs to kind of decorate it as well, if you can see it on the top there. I haven't put the back panels in on this one, but obviously you could write quite easily here. You could do all 4 panels decorated, really. Whatever you choose, really versatile card, and one that I think will prove very popular. And it is so much easier than it looks. It really is. So you're going to need your Bloom and Grow lovely stamp set. I'm using my Stamparatus for stamping as well, and I'll tell you why as we go along. And I'm just going to do one exactly the same as my previous version. So to start off with, you're going to need your trimmer, and you're going to need a piece of card, which is and I've just done it in inches, and it does fit. In the UK you can get 2 from a piece of A4 cardstock, and I've already cut this to 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches, and that's so that we can get that 2 from a sheet of A4 to the bases. And you're going to start by scoring at 2 inches and 4 inches. Sorry, at 6 inches rather. You are going to score at 4 inches, but you're going to score on the reverse, because that's, I've always said how you will fold away from that score line, and because of the way the card is, it just helps stop it cracking a little bit. So 2 and 4 on the first side, 2 and 6 on the first side, 4 inches on the second side. And then we're also going to need some other pieces of cardstock. So I've already cut 2 pieces of card for the layers, which are 5 1/4 by 1 3/4, and I've cut 2 in Seaside Spray and 2 in Whisper White. And then we're going to cut 2 pieces of DSP as well. Just check the orientation depending on how your card's going to be. I'm using this pretty script font here, and these are going to be 1 1/2 wide by 4 3/4 in length. Okay, I'm going to pop my scoreboard to one side. The next bit you can do with a ruler and a scoring tool, or you can do it with your scoreboard, if you have so. And what you're going to do is you're going to measure down 2 inches on all in that middle score line. No, you're not. You're going to do it on the first and third score line. So on the 2 and the 6 inches. So on 2 inches, you probably can't see them terribly well, but there we go. If I just crease that a little bit more, it might make it show up. So just make a mark on those, top and bottom, and that's what you're going to use to join up to make those little zigzags. So from the middle score line, that's your 4 inch one, down to this mark here, just score. And this is very like my fold flat box card. I'll put the link to that one in my in my instructions, if I remember, because the important, lots of these cards look complicated, but they're really not when you get to know them. Just some scoring, a little bit of card manipulation. Okay, and then the last one up here. So you can use a pencil mark if you find that easier. Some people do. So that's our card base with our scoring. What we now need to do is to cut our angles on our pieces of card. And to do that, again, it's not difficult. It's up to you whether you want to use a pen to mark it or not. So all you're going to do is whatever the width of the card is, so in this instance it's 1 3/4, on one side you're going to mark at that width down. So in this I'm at 1 3/4, so I'm just going to make a mark, and the same at the bottom. And then you're going to be cutting across at an angle. Now you can do that with your scissors if you want. So if you wanted to, I'll just show you on this one, you can just score lightly, then take your snips and you can use that to cut across. So that's quite straightforward to do. Alternatively, you can do what I usually do, which is line it up on my trimmer. If I just move that up a little bit, so line the point up and line the little mark in the groove and cut. And always when you do that, cut from your straight edge to your point, that way you won't damage your point. So that makes one piece of card, and you're going to repeat that on the other piece. So again, 1 3/4, make just those little marks and then line it up and cut at that angle. So on this one I'm going to go from the straight edge and down. There you go. Put that up slightly so you can see it. Straight edge and down. So keep your little pieces as well, because you can use those to layer up. You're going to do the same on your DSP, only this time you're going to mark at 1 1/2. So this one, it's more important that you remember which way it's going to be. So you're going to want your two pieces, make sure you've got them in the right way, and you're going to be marking on this edge here. So have it upright and mark on this edge. So 1 1/2. So that's where it's quite useful to use a non-directional pattern, just in case. It's always difficult to kind of show you, but just try to show you the principle. So again, keep those little pieces. So there's my little mark here. Line it up with the top. So one piece, and then on my second one I'm going to be marking on this edge. So this is the script, I'm going to be marking on that left edge. So 1 1/2, I'm just going to mark at the top there. As I say, some people find it easier. I'm turning that round so I mark on the same side. Some people find it easier to do by hand, but get used to it. And then exactly the same on our last two pieces. This is our Whisper White, so it's 1 3/4 wide. So we're going to mark it at 1 3/4, and then we're going to cut, trim those down. So that is all our cutting, which just seemed like quite a lot, but hey, here we go. So these are we're now going to actually create our card base. So all I would say with this is you're going to need your bone folder. Reinforce the creases once you're happy that things line up. So I'm going to fold back on this one and just gently ease these diagonals. Okay, so once they're kind of eased, fold them in. So again, just squeeze slightly. And then once you're happy that you see that's a little bit out, but it's nothing that's going to matter, then you can give it a good old crease. And do the same on the other side. There we go. It does remind me of a kind of origami fold, actually, this. So once you've done that, you're going to want to glue down the middle. So this is your piece of card, and we're folding to the back, and you're going to be gluing this centre section, and so these are the panels that you're going to want to adhere next. So get out my trusty snail, which is not going to be so trusty. It always happens. Okay, here we go. It's going to be one of those days where third time lucky. Okay, I've just got a tape runner here. Right. And I always line up with that left hand edge. So again, with your DSP, just make sure that your orientation is right for the writing. Pop that in place. I think I was probably just a little bit off camera there, so apologies. No, it's okay. For a moment there I thought I'd done it upside down, but I haven't. It's okay. Right, so once I've done that, I'm going to use my I'm just going to use some this is actually retired fuse, but what I would recommend is that you do use a strong glue, red tape if you've got that, for this middle section. So just fold and give that a good burnish together, and then there you go, and you can choose to follow it to either one side or the other. I'm going to leave my little panels for the moment and just carry on with the stamping, as I'm conscious that otherwise we might run out of time. So with the stamping, I said I've used the lovely Bloom and Grow, and this is just to show you what I do in terms of stamping die cuts. I find it really frustrating when you're stamping and you've done some beautiful colouring, you go to die cut it and it makes a bit of a mess. And if you've got a magnetic plate, it's great, but occasionally it jumps. So what I do, now I've got the Stamparatus, is I die cut out a piece of black card or thickish card. I stamp just onto my scrap paper and line up that image within the shape. Then all I need to do is take a die cut, which of course is nowhere to be seen. Okay, you take a die cut, pop it in, and then you come out with nightmare, with a lovely stamped image that's nicely centred that you can then colour. Aha, okay, so you find your die cut image. Okay, so you can see here all I need to do is just make sure that that is nicely lined up. Pop my die cut in like so, and I've deliberately done it in a black card to start off on because it's quite nice and thick, and because it then helps you pop it in easily. Ink up your image. I'm inking it with Mentor because we're going to stamp with blends, and then pop that down, and there you have a really nicely centred image that we can then cut. We can then colour even. Dear me, you can tell I haven't videoed for a long time. gone to pot. So there's my image, and all I'm going to do is then colour those. And I've used Rococo Rose, light and dark, some Purple Posy, some Mossy Meadow, because those just happen to be found, and then Seaside Spray to go around the outside. So to colour those, I just try to keep it simple. So I just colour my flower in, and don't be alarmed when you first colour the Rococo Rose. It comes out quite sort of almost a fluorescent pink, and I'm like, oh, that's not the colour I was expecting. But actually, once it dries, it softens to the Rococo Rose colour. Just a little bit alarming. So colour with your light colour. I then go in and add highlights with my dark. So just some in the shadows, so around the edges of those petals, whereby they'd sort of be in shadow. And again, you know, just little bits here and there, obviously in the centre there. And then come in with your light again, and I do tend to use the brush tip for this, and just kind of blur the edges there. So don't go all over again, just go over the edges of where you've just gone with your light and dark. And if you spotted a bit where you want to add a bit more shadow, that's fine, you can go in and do that. And that's how I coloured my first one. And then I did a similar effect with these detail flowers. However, because there's lots of little bits, and even using the bullet tip, you kind of can't get in as well. What I actually did was I coloured all in one colour. Then I came in with my bullet tip and actually just did some of the sort of occasional flowers. Occasional flowers of little bits of leaves, and then again I did something similar. I just kind of added a little bit just to give a very light effect. With the leaves, I just did Mossy Meadow in the light. Didn't really use the dark but very much. If you haven't got a dark one, you can just come in with the bullet tip once it's dry and just add a bit of shading. Come in first with the bullet tip. Bullet tip's great for these little tiny little bits. Again, you can come in. And this is a great mindfulness activity. You know, if you're feeling a bit stressed, do you know what? Cut out some of these and sit and just colour those in the evening. Really does help. So once you've done that, I've got the dark Seaside Spray. I'd normally use the light, but I have to say I've got it put to one side for another project. So rather than mess up my project prep, I just thought, well, I'll use the darker one to go around the flowers like so. And then once you've done that, you'll end up with your flowers like this. I've got this lovely punch here and a scrap of Seaside Spray, which I'm going to just punch, as you can see here. And all I need to do now is layer these up. So I'm going to use, of course, some dimensionals on the back of the flowers. The only thing you need to do is I would recommend you put a couple of dimensionals on these, because there's a fair amount of springiness to the card. You'll find that useful. And with the Whisper White, just a bit of Rococo Rose. Stamp that out, line it up with punch, and then all we do is we can pop our, just offset that, so pop our flowers on the top, pop some glue on the back of here, and line those up. Give her a little punch. Dimensional in the middle there. and then pop your second spray on the bottom there, and there you have a pretty